بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لقد من الله على المؤمنين إذ بعث فيهم رسولا من أنفسهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. In our last session, as you remember, I talked about subjectivism. I said that according to this school of thought, morality can be reduced to your personal feeling. X is good when you like X, and X is bad when you dislike X. After explaining the theory of subjectivism in regard with morality, I pointed out certain objections that were raised by scholars of morality against this school of thought. To cite but a few objections, I should remind you of some. For example, if this school of thought is right, if the theory this school presents is true, then we must be led towards anarchism, because everyone has his own or her own feelings. If feeling is the standard for judgment and the standard for evaluation, then whose feeling must be the standard? Your feeling or my feeling? His feeling or her feeling? Your community's feeling or my community's feeling? So there will be no consensus on the feeling that is the standard. So this will lead to anarchism. And this was one of the major objections that was raised against this school of thought. Another objection was that if this school is right, if this theory is correct, then we must not have any social evils, while there are many social evils. And this also shows that this school is not right. And there were also other objections which I am not going to touch now. These objections lead to the creation or emergence of a new school of thought, which I will touch in this session. That is the ideal observer theory. According to the ideal observer theory, we must combine between feelings on the one hand and reason on the other. Morality is a combination of reason and feeling. Feeling and emotion alone is not enough. Reason alone is not enough. But the combination of the two are what we must pursue. According to this school of thought, if one follows one's emotions, one may not prosper. Similarly, if one follows the reasons one comes across, then again one is not possible to prosper. Prosperity will be achieved, happiness will be achieved when you combine feelings and reason. If these two elements are combined, then the result will be very much positive. The result will be acceptable. Let us look at the instances and examples they provide. They say if you follow your feelings, if you suffice to following your emotions, then you at certain points you might be inclined to insult others. You might be inclined to injure the feelings of others. But is it good to injure the feelings of others? Is it good to pass remarks to others? Is it good to rebuke others? Of course, the consequences will not be acceptable. Because if you continue insulting others, you will be faced with the same insults by others. Others will retaliate, and you will have to pay for your action. So you cannot always do this. Or for example, you may like overeating. You have developed the habit to overeat, and you like it, you prefer it, you have a positive feeling towards it. But is it good? Of course, it might be tasty for you for a short period of time, but the consequences are not good, because you may gain weight, extra weight. You will be heavier, and your health will be at risk. You will have problems with your health. So you cannot say that this is a good thing. So we cannot advise you nor others to follow this habit of overeating. Feeling alone does not respond. You may like smoking, and you may have a positive approach towards smoking. But is smoking good? Look at the consequences it has. Look at the problems it creates for you. You will get numerous problems with your health when you get used to smoking. So you cannot say that since you like smoking, therefore smoking is good. Or you may like getting drunk. You may like to drink heavily. Is it good to drink heavily? If you drink heavily, you might get drunk. When you get drunk, you might hurt others. You might create problems for yourself as well as for others. So feeling alone is not enough. Basing your actions on feeling is not a good idea and is not a good thing. Similarly, reason alone is also not enough. It is very much boring to follow reasonings. For example, they say that divine love is something that is encouraged by reason. Reason tells you to love God. Reason tells you to worship God. Reason tells you to devote your time, your life, and your energy to worshiping God and to following God's commandments. It is good. It is based on reason, but your feelings may not have been taken into account here. Or for example, you sacrifice your time, your energy for the sake of others. In this case, again you have satisfied the condition of reasoning, but you have not taken your feeling into account. So the conclusion they make is that if you take your feelings into account, or if you take your reason into account without taking into account the other side, then you will not have a good life. You will not have a prosperous life. If you want to succeed, you must combine the two elements of reason and feelings. The combination of these two, the mixture of these two elements will produce a good result, and the result will be acceptable, and the result is what the ideal observer suggests and advises us to do. Of course, you can ask this question here: what are the mechanisms through which we can reach this state of affair? How can we reach the stage where we are able to combine the two elements of reason and feeling? How can we reach a position where we are able to combine between emotion on the one hand and reason and argument on the other? Is it possible for us to reach such a stage? They say yes. The answer is in positive. And they have actually presented certain mechanisms for reaching this state of affair. They say if you want to reach this state of affair, you must first of all extend the limit of your knowledge. You must try to gain access to a wide range of knowledge. You must widen your knowledge. The more you are knowledgeable, the more you are learned, the more you are able to be a moral agent. Being a moral agent depends on having a vast amount of knowledge. If your knowledge is very limited, you must not expect to be a person who is able to observe moral values. You can be a person who is able to observe moral values only if you have access to a vast amount of knowledge. This is the first condition, that you must increase your knowledge. The second condition that they attach is that you must try to be impartial. While passing a moral judgment, you must not be partial. You must not be biased. You must not be prejudiced. Try to be impartial. The more you are impartial, the better it is. The more you are knowledgeable, the better it is. These two conditions, if fully satisfied, will bring you to the state of a person who is a moral agent. So try to satisfy these two conditions. Try to take these two conditions into account and to implement them fully and comprehensively. Once these two conditions are satisfied, then we are able to be a moral agent, and we are capable of passing moral judgments. And then we can introduce the formulation they are emphasizing on. What is the formulation they are emphasizing on? They say that according to us, according to the ideal observer theory, X is good when you would desire for X. X is good, it means you desire for X. And you have the two conditions that are needed. And you are, firstly, you are knowledgeable, a man of vast knowledge. And secondly, you are impartial. And the more you are informed, the more you are knowledgeable, and the more you are impartial, the more you are able to reach to a stage that is very close to morality, the more you are able to exercise moral values. So that is the formulation they present of moral values. But now let us evaluate this theory. Is this theory a good theory? Should we subscribe to the theory of ideal observer? Should we say that we must follow this theory? Should we say that X is good means that you would desire for X if you are informed and if you are impartial? Can we follow their motto? Can we follow their standards? Moral scholars have looked at this theory very positively. They have rightly pointed out that this theory is really a huge step forward. It is a big improvement. It is a vast improvement on moral issues. Compared to the previous two schools of thought, this school is very advanced and this school is more perfect. Because according to the previous two schools of thought, we had a lot of morality problems, and we did not have solutions for those problems. But according to this school of thought and according to this theory, we do not have those problems. If you are the follower of an ideal observer theory, then you have reached a high state, a high position, and you are able to pass moral judgments. Of course, this is an improvement, and everybody agrees that this is an improvement. But is this improvement enough? Have we reached the end of our journey? The answer is, of course, in the negative. This is an improvement, but it does not mean that we have reached the end of our journey. And there is no other possibility for improvement. We cannot take any step further. There are a number of problems with this theory. Firstly, as moral scholars have rightly pointed out, this theory suffers from some sort of ambiguity and unclarity. The theory is not as clear as we expect it to be, because this theory emphasizes, for example, on the condition of impartiality. But it does not make it clear what does it mean by impartiality. Should we follow the standard of impartiality towards everybody, no matter whether they are our near and dear or they are strangers? Or should we follow these standards only towards the strangers and not to our nears and dears? This is not actually explained by the supporters of this theory. If they mean that impartiality should be exercised everywhere, then how can we do it? It has not been explained properly by this school of thought. So this is the first objection that we can raise against this school of thought. The second objection that can be raised against this school of thought is that it is too much utopian. It is too much idealistic because it stresses on the condition of vast knowledge. But vast knowledge is a very ambiguous concept. Knowledge is unlimited. There are various kinds of sciences, various kinds of knowledge. Which knowledge should we gain? Man is limited. The capabilities of man are limited, but knowledge is unlimited. How can a limited person gain control over an unlimited thing? So the condition of vast knowledge is not a condition that is realistic. It is a condition that sounds to be very much idealistic. We cannot easily satisfy this condition, because if you are experts in one science, you could be knowledgeable, but compared to a person who is expert in two sciences, you are not knowledgeable. In those who are expert at many sciences, they are more knowledgeable than others. Then how can you satisfy this condition? It is not clear, and it is not possible for a person to fully satisfy this condition. So these are the two objections that are raised, and yet you can issue another criticism against this school of thought. This school of thought lays emphasis on two conditions. One is impartiality and the other is knowledgeability. But do you think there are only these two conditions that could be mentioned? Aren't there any other condition that should be mentioned? But of course, if we make a search, we will find many more conditions. For example, the condition of consistency. The statements, moral statements, must be consistent towards each other. There should not be any inconsistency among moral statements. This is also a condition. And there could be another condition. 2, for the a moral standard moral judgments. But the question arises, why have they chosen only these two conditions from among the many possible conditions that could be there? You can say that they have actually arbitrarily chosen these two conditions, and they don't have any good justification for the selection of these two conditions. Had they had any justifications, they should have presented their justifications. And since they have not presented the justifications, so we can say that they have arbitrarily chosen these conditions, and we cannot accept their point of view. Another objection that we can level against this school of thought is that they are giving importance to the viewpoint of ideal observer. But let us ask them, if there are many ideal observers, and if they differ on a moral issue, then what should we do? If, for example, if X says that this is moral and Y says that is moral, then in such cases, what should we do? Which ideal observer should we accept? Should we accept X or should we accept Y? If we accept as X, then we will be led to a specific direction, to one direction. And if we follow Y, we will be to another direction. So in such cases, what should we do? Here are the cases that are not covered properly by the supporters of this school of thought. But now let us see, what does Islam say in regard with this school of thought? Does Islam accept the theory presented by this school of thought, or does Islam reject this theory? To present the Islamic point of view, we should say that this theory is very much close to the theory of Islam. But this is not the same theory as proposed by Islam. The theory Islam proposes in regard with morality is a little bit different from the theory of the ideal observer. The theory of the ideal observer is, of course, very close to the theory of Islam, because this theory tells you that you should be well informed. You should have knowledge about everything. And it also tells you to be impartial. You must not be prejudiced. You must not be fanatic. You must not be biased. And these are good conditions. And Islam also advises you to be as such. But again, this is not enough. According to Islam, only the infallible people are immune to errors. Only the infallible people are able to pass moral judgments in their actions, in their words, or actually reflecting moral principles. But other people cannot be as such. The infallible, being immune to error, are actually reflecting the divine words. When they please something, it is as if God pleases that thing. When they like something, it is as if God likes that thing. When they dislike something, it is as if God dislikes that thing. So from their likes and dislikes, we can infer the likes and dislikes of God. And from their emotions and from their practices, we can infer the will of God. But of course, when we give a look at ordinary people, from the actions of ordinary people, we cannot make such a conclusion. So these were some of the objections that we raised against this school of thought. In our next season, inshallah, we will further elaborate on some of aspects of moral principles. Thank you very much.
Allah ya Allah, Allah subhanallah.